You know, I've been thinking about this question a lot, and it occurred to me that if the question is formulated that way, it almost seems like National Socialism came from somewhere else and landed in that ground. But in fact, the ground was fertile because it was precisely that ground that produced National Socialism. And what I mean by that is often the factors that we point to, I don't know, economic problems, the loss of World War I, anti-Semitism. People say, aha, those things made German and Austrian society susceptible. But in fact, those very factors went into producing National Socialism, if you know what I'm saying. So it's like every society gets the political movements that match the anxieties and the concerns and the frictions of that society, right? So rather than thinking, aha, economic problems make people susceptible to extremism, I think when we see a society that's succumbed to extremism, we tend to look back and say, well, what made it susceptible? But those are the very factors that produced Adolf Hitler, and that the movement became popular because it responded to and addressed issues of concern to that society. In many ways, it seems to me, the more important question is, how did Nazism coming to power create popularity, right? People tend to think, oh, Hitler rode a wave of popular support into power. As we know, that's not the way it worked, right? The Nazis never had more than maximum 37% of the votes cast, and of course that amount dropped before they came to power. But once Hitler was in power, he could use that position to reward people for agreeing with him, to give incentives for sharing Nazi ideas. And I think anti-Semitism is such a really good example of that, because we know Jews were a very, very small part of German society, less than 1%, right? And yet the Nazi insistence that every problem was caused by Jews and every problem could somehow be resolved through measures taken against Jews, that position, once Hitler came into power, in a way could be reinforced by government policies, you know? And so people who, non-Jews who might not have been particularly anti-Semitic, they had a reason to jump on that bandwagon because it was in their interest to do so. So I think, yeah, every society has the potential for extremism and radicalism. Every society has divisions and frictions and sort of dominant anxieties and fears. It's when a movement both coalesces with those and then encourages and manipulates them and then exaggerates its own success at addressing problems that often the movement itself publicized. This is how the Nazis worked as well.